Mom and Dad gave me permission to move in. If you don't like it, call the police. My older sister, Hillary, smirked provocatively. Before me stretched a room in complete chaos. My once immaculate sanctuary was trampled as if it were nothing. My name is Kate, I'm 31 years old and I'm an interior designer who made her name in Miami. In my teens, I threw myself into the world I'd always dreamed of, working relentlessly until I built my own design firm. Now, I design for South Florida's elite and am steadily expanding my business. My success is embodied in my second home overlooking South Beach, a minimalist white penthouse filled with art and furniture collected from around the world. It's my sanctuary, my inspiration. But I wasn't content to stop there. My next goal was to expand to the West Coast, opening a studio and gallery in Beverly Hills. It was a massive investment and I needed serious capital. So I made a practical decision: rent out my Miami penthouse and use the income to fund my expansion. Once the plan was set, I moved fast. I asked Steve, my most trusted property manager, to find the perfect tenant. I instructed my attorney to prepare a flawless lease agreement, anticipating every possible risk and protecting my rights. My motto has always been simple. In business, everything comes down to paperwork and contracts. To ensure the property was in pristine condition, I renovated the interiors and installed a state-of-the-art security system. Within weeks, the penthouse gleamed like a luxury hotel suite. It was ready. All that remained was to find the right tenant. At that moment, I had no idea that the person who would violate that space was far closer than I thought. The offer. My parents lived peacefully in the Florida suburbs. A typical middle-class couple who never quite understood the scale of my business. One weekend, I visited them to share my plan. Mom, Dad, I've decided to open a new studio on the West Coast, I began. So I'm going to rent out my Miami place for a while. My father smiled proudly. That's amazing, Kate. I'm proud of you. But my mother frowned. Rent it out to strangers? That beautiful house. Isn't that dangerous? Don't worry, Mom, I assured her. I'm using a management company I trust and my lawyer's involved too. Everything's by the book. That's when Hillary entered, right on cue with her 3 kids. She must have been eavesdropping outside the door. Kate's renting out her place, she said, feigning surprise. Before I could respond, her children turned the living room into a circus, jumping on the couch, demanding snacks. Yes, I said curtly. It's for business. Hillary's face lit up as if she'd been waiting for this exact opportunity. Oh, perfect. Then you can rent it to us. I blinked, unsure I'd heard her correctly. To you. Right, she said matter-of-factly. Our apartment's too small now that the kids are growing. And your penthouse is in such a great school district. It would be perfect for them. In her mind, the story was already written. She and her family would live in my luxury penthouse for free, while her kids attended top-tier schools. Hillary, I said calmly, this is business. The rent is part of my investment plan. Her eyes widened dramatically. Rent? You're seriously going to charge us rent? Even the kids froze. My mother immediately took her side. Kate, how can you say that? Hillary's your only sister. And look at her, she's got all those children. You could help her out for a little while. Help her out. I repeated, stunned. This is my property, Mom. My business. It's not a charity. My father tried to mediate. Now, let's all calm down. But Hillary was just getting started. She put her hands on her hips like a self-righteous heroine. Kate, you just don't understand. You've never had to worry about grocery bills or tuition. All you care about is making money. Her words were so unfair they almost made me laugh. She had no idea how hard I'd worked, or how much I'd risked, to build my life. You live alone in your fancy apartment doing what you love, making tons of money, she continued, her voice rising. What's so wrong with helping your family a little? You're greedy, Kate. You're heartless. Greedy. I echoed, stunned. Then my mother added quietly, she's right, Kate. You're in a position to help your family. That's what family means, doesn't it? God wants those who have to share with those who don't. God. I nearly laughed. This wasn't generosity, it was entitlement wrapped in moral language. I stood up. That's enough. My decision stands. I walked out as Hillary screamed behind me, Don't you walk away from me, you ungrateful brat. The violation. Days later, Steve called. Kate, great news. We've had several inquiries, but there's one couple I think would be perfect. Both doctors, excellent references, very professional. Would you like to meet them and show the place yourself? Of course, I said immediately. The showing was set for Friday afternoon. At 2 p.m. I met Steve and Dr. and Mrs. Ford in the lobby. They were refined, polite, and clearly admired the building. I felt confident this would go perfectly. This way, please, I said, pressing the button for the private elevator. As we ascended, Steve explained the building's advanced security system. This second home means a lot to me, I told them. I designed it right after starting my firm. It represents the beginning of everything. At the door, I placed my finger on the smart lock. I'm sure you'll love it. The door opened and my words froze in my throat. The room before me was unrecognizable. My Italian glass coffee table was shoved aside, half buried under a cereal box and a milk carton. The white leather sofa was draped with a garish cartoon blanket. Toys littered the floor like landmines. And in the center of it all sat Hillary, wearing sweatpants and eating potato chips, while a loud cartoon blared from the TV. Beside her, little Mia was scribbling crayons all over one of my art books. I heard Steve gasp. The Fords stood frozen, speechless. Kate, what on earth is going on here? Steve asked quietly, disbelief in his voice. Hillary finally looked up, clearly annoyed we'd interrupted her afternoon. Oh, Kate, she said casually, you should have called before coming over. And in that instant, something inside me snapped. What are you doing here? I couldn't keep the tremor out of my voice. I didn't know whether it was anger or disbelief. What? Like it's not obvious. Hillary popped a chip into her mouth and spoke as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Mom gave me a spare key yesterday, so we moved in. You're going to rent it to us, right? A spare key. Right. I'd left one at my parents' house years ago, for emergencies. My mother had taken it without my permission. From the kitchen, Hillary's two other children peered out, hands smeared with chocolate. One of them was dragging my prized cashmere cushion across the marble floor. At that moment, Mrs. Ford spoke softly to her husband. Steve, I think we should take our leave today. Her voice was calm but laced with disappointment and disgust. Wait, Mrs. Ford. This is a mistake. I tried desperately to stop them, but it was too late. Dr. Ford gave me a sympathetic but firm look. Yes, let's do that. Steve, we'll wait to hear from you. The couple moved quickly toward the elevator. My perfect tenants had just witnessed the worst moment of my life. Esteve turnedasen. Kate, I'm so sorry, but I need to get back to the office and sort this out. Yeye contact you later. I left in a hurry, almost as if fleeing the scene. The room fell silent. Only the sound of cartoons played in the background. Hillary lounged on my sofa as if none of this concerned her. The kids bickered quietly near the kitchen. My younger grew cold, controlled, focused. I turned toward her. Get out. Eh? I can't hear you, she said mockingly, cupping a hand to her ear. I said, take your kids and get out of here. Right now. Hillary set down the remote and gave me the ugliest screen I'd ever seen. No. Mom told me it's okay for us to live here. This is our home now. Then she delivered the line that sealed her fate. And if you don't like it, why don't you call the police? Go on, if you can. Her twisted smile was the final trigger. A strange calm washed over me. My boiling point had passed. Only an easy resolve remained. I stared into her eyes, reached into my handbag, and pulled out my phone. So, I said quietly, what did you use tell me todo? You wouldn't, she scoffed. You'd never turned your own family in. I ignored her and pressed 3 numbers. 911. Her smile faltered. Panic flickered in her eyes. What, are you serious? Don't. But I didn't stop. 911, what's your emergency? Came the calm operator's voice. Yes, I said clearly. There is an unlawful entry at my second home in Miami, South Beach. Multiple people entered without permission and are refusing to leave. They are not armed. As the operator confirmed my name and address, Hillary grabbed my arm. Please, Kate, stop. Say you're joking. Her confidence was gone, replaced by a trembling fear. The children began to cry, sensing something was terribly wrong. The unit number is 251, I finished. Yeye be waiting in the building lobby. He ended the call, looked straight at my sister, and said evenly. You told me to call the police. So I did. This is no longer a family matter, it's a legal one. Then he turned and walked away, her shrill screams echoing down the hallway. The arrest. 10 minutes later, 2 police officers entered the lobby. He rose from the leather sofa, greeted them calmly, and explained everything. When he showed them digital proof of ownership, the older officer, Sergeant Jackson, nodded. Understood, ma'am. Please take us up. Even before unlocking the door, he could hear crying and Yari's hysterical voice, probably calling our mother. When he opened the door, Charles greeted us. The same mess. The same smell of chips and chocolate. Hillary froze when she saw the officers. What the hell? You really called the police? Sergeant Jackson's tone was polite but firm. You must be Hillary. This is Kate, the legal owner of this property. We received a report that you entered and remained here without consent. That constitutes trespassing. Trespassing? I'm her sister. We're a family. Family or not, said the younger officer, Sergeant Brown, the owner asked you to leave. You no longer have the right to remain. Please gather your belongings and back at the premises immediately. The moment she heard those words, something in Hillary cracked. She leaned toward me. This is your fault. You're ruining my life. Before she could reach me, Sergeant Brown caught her arm. You're interfering with police duty, he warned. But Hillary struggled violently, shrieking, Let me go, you monster. Seconds later, both officers restrained her. The handcuffs clicked. Trespassing and obstruction of justice, Jackson said. You're under arrest. Yari's face went pale. She screamed, cried, begged, but nothing made sense anymore. Her 3 children stood frozen, one of them sobbing uncontrollably. He didn't move. He simply watched, silent and uncertain. There was no pity left in me, only a cold certainty that this had been inevitable. As the officers began leading her out, my phone rang. The screen lit up. Mom. He answered and put it on a speaker. Kate. What have you done? Hillary said the police. Oh my God. My mother's panicked voice filled the room. He looked at Hillary, handcuffed and shaking. You did what Hillary told me to do, he said quietly. She said, if you don't like it, call the police. So he did. None of this would be happened if you hadn't given her my spare key without permission. What? Are you blaming me now? You used to abandon your sister when she's in trouble? She's 38, Mom. A grown woman, a mother of 3. She's responsible for her own actions. And you, he paused, my voice steady, you might have meant well, but your kindness turned her into this. You've spent years enabling her. And now, you've turned your daughter into a criminal. There was silence, then a gasp from my mother. He looked at Hillary one last time. You will never step into my life or my property again. From now on, you and Dad will take full responsibility for her and the kids. Our little family game is over. He ended the call. Sergeant, he said, handing Jackson a note, my parents will pick up the children shortly. Erase their contact. He nodded and escorted Hillary out. The aftermath. Only the children's cries remained. He knelt beside little Mia and stroked her back gently. It's okay. Grandma's coming soon. They weren't to blame. Their only crime was having a foolish mother. 30 minutes later, my parents arrived. Pale, shaken. My mother rushed to the children. My father stood still, eyes darting between me and the wrecked living room. Kate said through clenched teeth, what have you done? What have I done? He replied evenly. He protected Bat's mine, by love. What's wrong with calling the police on trespassers? They're your family. I've heard that word enough for a lifetime, he cut in. You've spent years excusing Yari's behavior. Spoiling her. Protecting her from consequences. This ends now. Take the children, and pay for her lawyer. My mother glared at me over the children's heads. You're no daughter of ours. The words sold have a head. But they didn't. All he felt was relief. You're probably right, he said quietly, turning my back. They left. The door closed behind them. Silence. I looked around at the chaos, chocolate stands, toys, candy wrappers. The remnants of something rotten that had finally been cut out. That same day, I called the locksmith and changed every lock. Then he filled garbage bags with everything they detached, every toy, every piece of clothing, and threw it all away. The next morning, David, my property manager, called. Kate, I can't apologize enough for what happened. I've already reached out to the force, but... I know, he interrupted. Regaining their trust will be difficult. But my decision stands. You've done enough. If you think I should find a new management company, I understand. Absolutely not, David said firmly. Your composure yesterday was admirable. I won't lose a client like you. I handle this, and find you the perfect tenants. His steady tone was oddly comforting. There were still people who respected boundaries and contracts. Within a week, I flew to Beverly Hills to finalize my new studio and gallery. I had enough capital now to move forward without relying on Miami. It was proof I didn't need anyone. Weeks later, David called again, his voice alive with excitement. Kate, we did it. I found the perfect tenants, a French couple, tech executives. They offered to pay 1.2 times the market rate, 2 years upfront. I smiled. Steady income. A thriving business. And, finally, freedom. Freedom from being drained, manipulated, or guilt by a family. 6 months passed. My life in Beverly Hills flourished. One afternoon, I received an international call. Auntie Anne, from Italy. She had always been the only one in the family I truly respected. Kate, darling. I saw your new studio in a magazine. It's stunning. After some small talk, her tone softened. I heard a little about what happened in Miami. You must have been through a lot. It's over now, he said quietly. I know. But listen, it's about Hillary. She told me Hillary had avoided formal charges. Prosecution was suspended since it was her first offense and she had young children. But her reputation was destroyed. Relatives withdrew their support, her lease renewal was refused, and even my parents eventually stopped shielding her. They all moved into a small, run-down apartment on the outskirts of Miami. I listened silently. There was no anger, no satisfaction. Just calm. Kate, Auntie Anne said gently, you did the right thing. You're not obligated to sacrifice your life for the sake of a Chincayet family. You have every right to protect your happiness, to build a life that's truly yours. Maybe to say where the words see the what is my whole life to hear. I no longer think of the Miami house as a sanctuary. It's just another property now, part of my portfolio. My real sanctuary lies within me. A place no one can invade, claim, or corrupt. Because blood alone does not make a family. True family are those who respect your boundaries, who stand beside you. Not on top of you.